check this out, man. I got something that you ain't seen yet.
You haven't shown me something?
No.
Ryan Evans was the real talent. Long before counting cars made him famous, one moment in his father's garage changed the course of his life. Decades later, after years of working in silence, Ryan finally opened the doors to a project that revealed who he had become beyond the show. What was he building behind closed doors? And why did almost nobody know about it? Join us as we uncover the story that counting cars never told.
I'm Ryan. I'm the head painter and artist at Counts Customs. I really love to work on motorcycles. Ever since I was knee-high, I loved two wheels.
The 25-year apprenticeship nobody talks about. In 2000, a Hawaiian-born lead bike builder and bike shop manager at Counts Customs spotted Ryan's painted bikes around Las Vegas and immediately recognized that he was looking at a rare talent. He didn't waste time in introducing Ryan to Danny Coker, and the two of them connected instantly over a shared obsession with color and period-correct detail. What people forget, watching 10 seasons of television, is that Ryan did not walk in as a star. He started at the bottom, working as a painter and graphic artist in the bike shop, and only later did Danny promote him to head customization artist. That progression, painter to head artist, took years. When Counting Cars premiered on the History Channel on August 13, 2012, it followed the daily operations of Counts Customs, the custom car and motorcycle shop in Las Vegas, owned by Danny Coker. Ryan made his first appearance in Season 1, Episode 1, McQueen for a Day, credited as the car fabricator, and from there went on to appear in over 100 episodes by the time the show wrapped its 10th season in 2021. On the History Channel's own official cast page, Ryan is described in terms that reveal everything about his role inside that shop. He oversees all of the amazing automotive artwork that makes Counts Customs famous.
Rolly! Bring out that beautiful blazer.
Wow.
Listen to it.
Oh, that color is beautiful.
Look at that.
And he is Danny's right-hand man in conceptualizing and completing each and every project that comes through the shop. The page even noted that his dedication to his craft is only surpassed by his grace and patience in dealing with his colleague, the famously unruly, horny Mike. He was the steady center that everyone else's chaos orbited around, the person whose actual job was to take Danny's vision and someone else's wild energy and turn all of it into a finished, coherent piece of rolling art that could survive being parked next to anything else in the world and still be the thing people stared at. For his work on a custom 1973 boat-tail Riviera, Ryan received Airbrush Action Magazine's Choice Award for SEMA's Best in Show in 2015, a significant honor inside an industry where thousands of builders compete for exactly that kind of recognition every year. By the time the show ended, he had been a loyal employee of Counts Customs since 1999, which means the relationship between Ryan and that shop has now outlasted the entire run of the television show built around it and is still going. Most fans assume that when the cameras stopped rolling, Ryan's story simply paused with them. It did not. And what was waiting in his own private garage, the projects nobody scripted, the vehicles he chose for himself rather than for a client or a producer, is where this story actually gets interesting. What exactly does the man behind the brush keep for himself once the client's car has driven off the lot?
I've been there many times, man. I've seen that look in his eye. I know he's going all out, world-class, full customization in this car. It's going to be so gorgeous, he's probably going to be afraid to drive it because he doesn't want it to get dirty.
The golden Cadillac that was never supposed to be a Cadillac. If you want to understand what Ryan Evans actually values, you would not look at the most expensive car that ever rolled through Count's Customs. You would look at the one vehicle the shop built specifically for him. That vehicle found in his garage is a golden 1969 Cadillac Coupe Custom, and it did not start its life as a Cadillac at all. It began as a DeVille, a completely different model, before the team at Count's Customs stripped it down to its bare metal and rebuilt it into the gold custom Cadillac Coupe it is today. Built especially for Ryan by his own friends inside the shop he had spent decades helping to build. Ryan Evans, unlike his longtime friend and boss Danny Coker, does not own an extensive personal car collection. Danny's own collection has grown to over 100 vehicles over the years. Ryan's prized possession is one car, built by hand, by the people he trusts most, specifically for him. That is not the garage of a man chasing volume. It is the garage of a man who believes one perfectly built thing says more than 100 mediocre ones. The same instinct that made him reject sloppy, outside help as a teenager, the same patience that lets him work an airbrush for hours without losing focus, is the exact instinct behind owning a single gold Cadillac, rather than a warehouse full of half-finished projects. His own biography page on the Count's Customs website lists his actual favorite car as something different again, a 1969 Chevelle, with a reason that has nothing to do with horsepower or paint at all. In his own words, "I was almost born in one. It was my earliest and fondest childhood memory with the family." That is the part of Ryan Evans that 10 years of television never had room to properly show. Underneath the SEMA Award and the 100-plus episodes is a man whose relationship with cars started as something deeply personal, long before it ever became professional. But the Cadillac and the Chevelle were never going to be where this story stopped. Because what Ryan actually does, day after day, inside that shop, has produced individual pieces of work that even he, after decades in the business, considers his absolute best. So which projects did Ryan himself single out as the ones he is most proud of, and what makes them different from everything else that has ever rolled through that garage?
What's going on, gents?
I'm making sure Ryan's doing this right.
I was just gonna say, Mike, it's so nice to see you hard at work, man. Don't bust out a sweat over there, brother. Man, it's looking beautiful. Don't you wish you could do this, Mike?
The three pieces Ryan considers his best work ever. After a career that has put his name on more vehicles than most artists will ever touch in a lifetime, Ryan Evans has narrowed it down. There are three projects he points to, out of everything Count's Customs has produced, as the work he is most proud to have created. The first is a vampire-themed build on a 1981 Chevy C10 van, painted bright red with flames running along the side, transforming an ordinary work van into something theatrical and unmistakable. The van holds special significance for Danny Coker himself, who has owned it since 1982 and had it redesigned several times over the decades, but will likely never want to change Ryan's version again. Think about what it means for an artist to put the final permanent design on something his boss has owned and tinkered with for over 4 decades. Danny Coker had already lived with that van in several different versions before Ryan ever touched it. For Ryan's design to be the one that finally stuck, the one Danny decided not to redo again, says something about the level of trust that had built up between the two of them across more than 2 decades of working side by side. The second and third pieces Ryan considers his finest work remain part of the same body of craftsmanship that earned him recognition from the broader airbrushing community in the first place. The kind of work that won him that SEMA Best in Show award for the Boat-Tail Riviera. The kind of work that has, according to his own social media, recently expanded into territory most painters in this industry never even attempt. In early 2024, Ryan posted an Instagram video showing one of his newer projects, a black motorcycle finished with striking purple flame detailing, proof that decades into his career, he is still pushing into new color combinations and new visual ideas rather than simply repeating the styles that made him famous. And there is the project that, if it ever actually happens, would represent the single biggest leap of his entire career: airbrushing a helicopter. Most workers at the shop have likely never even imagined working on a helicopter, but Ryan's ambition and creativity have clearly opened the door to thinking on that scale. And if he ever gets the opportunity to actually tackle a project like that, it could push his name to literal new heights inside the custom vehicle community. But after everything, the awards, the television appearances, and the decades of loyal service to one shop, there was still a moment when the entire internet decided it knew something about Ryan Evans that turned out to be completely false. So, what exactly did people start saying about him once the show stopped producing new episodes? And how far from the truth did that rumor actually travel?
I'm also going to talk to you about projects that we're building here at Counts Customs from start to finish. You're going to see a lot of cool things.
The rumor that spread faster than the truth. When Counting Cars aired its final new episode in 2021, no new seasons followed. For a show that had run for 10 consistent seasons, that kind of sudden quiet is exactly the environment where speculation grows fastest, and Ryan Evans became one of the names the internet decided to speculate about. After the show stopped producing new episodes, fan rumors began circulating online, suggesting that Ryan had left Counts Customs entirely after the season 10 finale. For a man who had given the shop over 20 years of his working life. By that point, the idea that he had simply walked away without explanation spread through fan forums and comment sections with the kind of speed that only false stories about beloved public figures ever seem to manage. The rumors were not true. Ryan is still working for Coker. His official biography on the Counts Customs website lists him today as head artist and paint shop manager, describes him as the creative influence behind the shop's projects, and still proudly references that 2015 SEMA Best in Show award. A man who has not been fired, who has not left, who has not walked away from anything, was nonetheless treated by a significant slice of his own fan base as though he had quietly vanished, simply because the cameras stopped showing up. What actually happened is something far less dramatic and far more impressive. When the television show ended, the real business it was filmed inside of did not. Ryan has continued posting to his own Instagram in the years since, updating fans on his life and showcasing the vehicles he continues to work on at Counts Customs, including that purple flame motorcycle from early 2024. His estimated net worth, built across over 2 decades of skilled, consistent work, now sits somewhere between $1 million and $5 million. A financial picture that reflects not a single viral moment, but a genuinely sustained, decades-long career. This is the most quietly subversive part of the entire Ryan Evans story. The internet wanted drama. It wanted a falling out, a firing, a dramatic exit worth talking about. What it actually got was a man who simply kept showing up to the same shop he had been showing up to since 1999, doing the same exacting, patient, detail-obsessed work he had been doing since he was a teenager, trying to teach himself airbrushing in his parents' garage in Killeen, Texas, because every other shop in town was too afraid he might become their competition. So if the real Ryan Evans has always existed, away from the cameras, what does his own personal life reveal that the show never could?
I love Vegas.
Vegas stole my heart, man.
How many years now here?
16 years.
That's how long you've been with me. Maybe it's not Vegas, maybe it's me.
The life the cameras never pointed at. There is a version of Ryan Evans the television audience came to know across 10 seasons. The precise, steady, quietly brilliant painter whose work anchored everything Count's customs produced for the screen. What the show did not spend much time on was the personal life that existed alongside the professional one. Ryan Evans married Dana Pauly in March 2015, and the two have built a family that includes Dana's son, Logan, along with Ryan's own children, Kylie and Austin. The military kid who spent his entire childhood moving from base to base, who had never had a permanent hometown, never been able to plant himself anywhere long enough to call it truly his, built a family and a home in Las Vegas, in the same city where the shop that changed his professional life has its address. He currently has 95,000 followers on Instagram, which for a man who describes himself simply as a custom painter with 20-plus years of experience is a number that shows genuine appreciation rather than manufactured celebrity. He posts when he has something real to show. He appears at car shows when the schedule allows. In the summer of 2024, the Count's Customs official Instagram account posted a photo of Evans and Horny Mike at a car show in Myrtle Beach. The same easy, playful friendship visible in every season of the show, still intact years after the cameras left. The two still work closely together inside the shop. Evans posted a video in January 2024 in which he is jokingly annoyed at Horny Mike, panning the camera to his colleague working in the background with a caption claiming Mike was still on his last nerve, even in silence. The warmth in the joke lands the same way it did in the show, because it is the same warmth, coming from the same place, between two people who have known each other long enough that the teasing is its own form of affection. Now, let's talk about the garage that revealed it all.
You know me. Here she is, ready to rock. I'm going to gather up my boys. We'll talk about the plan on this thing and make her wicked cool. It's got that big block 460 in it.
Really?
So,
That's awesome.
Two-wheel drive.
What the garage actually contains. Strip away the television show entirely, and what is actually sitting inside Ryan Evans's world is not a museum of expensive trophies or an Instagram-ready collection designed for maximum visual impact. It is a small, deliberate collection of objects that each carry their own specific weight. There is the golden Cadillac, built by the hands of people who have known him for decades as a genuine gesture from a shop that considers him essential to its identity. There is the personal love for a 1969 Chevelle that has nothing to do with horsepower and everything to do with a single early childhood memory of nearly being born inside one. There is a red vampire-themed van that his own boss has kept unchanged for years, because Ryan's version was simply too good to redo. There is a black motorcycle with purple flames, proof that even decades into his career, he is still chasing new ideas rather than coasting on old ones. And somewhere out there, still mostly a dream, is the possibility of a helicopter. The next canvas he has not yet had the chance to put his name on. A self-taught artist who was rejected by an entire community of painters as a teenager, who learned his craft by watching rather than being formally taught, who turned a love for two-wheeled canvases into a career that earned national industry recognition, and who, after everything, chose to keep one car for himself instead of 100. Because for Ryan Evans, the value was never in the size of the collection. It was always in the specific story behind each piece. As his Count's Customs biography page puts it, since then, Ryan has become one of the top painters in the world. Not one of the most famous, one of the top. The distinction matters because fame is external and top is earned, and the difference between the two is exactly the kind of distinction that a man who once lived above his workplace for a year during filming understands better than most.
Dude, though, I see it. Look, it's got good-looking exhaust, 9-inch, 4-wheel disc. I like the wheels. Dude, I'm actually kind of digging on this thing. It's already dressed real nice.
I told you.
I like the hood, bro.
In 2025 and into 2026, Ryan Evans is still painting at Count's Customs and still traveling to car shows across the United States, where the fans who followed him through 10 seasons of counting cars come out to see the person, not just the work. Ryan is the head painter, and Horny Mike is the custom airbrusher for Count's Customs, so they work very closely together in the garage. Because of this, it seems clear that Horny Mike is Evans's closest friend from work. The garage, both the professional one at Count's Customs and the private one where the more personal work happens, is still the center of a life built deliberately and maintained quietly. At the bottom of Evans' biography page on the Count's Customs website, a whole section is dedicated to his public appearances. He shows up when there is reason to show up. He paints when there is something to paint. He keeps the two parts of his life, the public career and the private creative practice, in a relationship that most people in his position never quite manage to maintain. The military kid who grew up moving from base to base and found his permanent thing in a garage in Killeen is now the man whose garage in Las Vegas leaves visitors speechless. The through line from one to the other is not complicated. It is just paint, and 30 years of understanding it better than almost anyone alive. That is the real story of Ryan Evans. When someone spends 30 years doing the thing they were made to do, in garages across 3 different cities, without stopping and without needing anyone to watch, is the most extraordinary thing about them the work? Or is it the decision made over and over every single day to keep showing up for it? And what does it say about what reality television actually captures? That 10 seasons of a show about paintwork never quite got to the painting? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.